I'm AGD and welcome to my bad English as always. Today I'm super excited because I show you for the first time the new ELKA-X by Cherry Audio, the new synthesizer, and I'm super excited because it's the Italian flagship synthesizer is the ELKA SYNTHEX, because I'm Italian like Dr. Mix. I'm very happy, and I'm very happy to collaborate with Cherry Audio to introduce this fantastic synthesizer to the world. So I have prepared 3 different videos, guys, 3 different videos, so subscribe to the channel, please. 3 different videos. The complete review, no talking, sound playing, and also the official Ouverture demo track that you can find also in the Cherry Audio website. So this is the complete in-depth review video. So if you don't want to hear this boring presentation, you can skip to the no talking play video, or skip to the Ouverture demo track that I have produced with only ELKA-X sound. So thank you guys, and let's go. Okay, guys, I try to make a review, a complete review if is possible, because ELKA-X is very huge. Is a recreation of the Italian ELKA SYNTHEX that's worth $50,000 now. So first thing, there is this important feature. This is the focus features that can zoom in directly in the interface of the instrument, and you can see very well. Is different from the zoom. You can zoom from 50%. I return to 100%. For example, for my screen, 110% is okay, and this important feature that is focus. There are different levels to browse the sound. The collection, this is the ELKA-X collection. So there are different collection. There are the different category of the sound. For example, bells, keys, pads, etc. And obviously the name of the sound. And you can also use the keyboard. I show you an example. I start with a simple lead. I go to change randomly some parameter, and appears edited in the browser. So now if I save my sound, I can choose the collection, for example, my user preset, lead. I can change the category, but in this case I leave leads, and I can obviously change the name, for example, AGD lead 1, and I can add some keyword, for example, lead for example, my, AGD, etc., and save. Now, when I go to the collection in the user preset, I have my sound. Another important feature is that I can add the sound to the favorite categories with the star, and now I have my sound also in the favorite sound. And also I have a recent category, so the sound that I have used recently. I show you another important feature that is the pin, this little pin. Because if I press the pin and I click on a patch, for example, this baby piano, with the arrow of the keyboard of the computer, I can browse and immediately hear the sound. Also, I show you another categories, for example, pads, also from left to the right with the arrow. I show you. So this little pin is very useful. There are the undo and the redo button. There is the setting page, so you can set the preset folder, the interface. You can adjust many parameters, and obviously your Cherry Audio account. The Midi Learn is very important to control your ELKA-X with an external control keyboard. For example, if I press Midi Learn and I press a parameter, for example, this, and I move on my keyboard the parameter is assigned to this knob. So now I can move directly from my keyboard. And when I press Midi Learn, all the assigned parameters are indicated with the number of the control change. So is very useful. I can also choose for any single parameter if is global or if is only for the preset, and I can adjust the minimum and the maximum level, and also the curve. So is incredible, and I can control my ELKA-X with an hardware control keyboard very well. There is a MIDI panic button. There is the QWERTY keyboard. Command key is useful to hear the sound and to preview the sound. And in some cases, if you don't have any other possibilities, you have the possibility to play ELKA-X only with the computer keyboard. Oversample quality from start from 1 to 4. Obviously, the CPU level augmented when you go to the higher quality. I start with the oscillator. There are two oscillators, the oscillator 1 and the oscillator 2, that are very stable. There are DCO oscillator that was used also in Roland Juno 6, 16106, etc. And DCO oscillator was are very stable, so the pitch does not drift. The oscillator have the octave control, the waveform, the transpose, the tune, also the oscillator 2 obviously, and the PWM to oscillator 2, and the ring modulation, the oscillator 1 PWM, and the ring modulation, the pulse wide, and the volume of the single. You have also a noise generator of white and pink. Obviously off. Multimode filter. In this frame you can control the frequency of the sound, the resonance, and the keyboard. This causes the cutoff frequency to increase as ascending notes are played on a keyboard. And I have the filter mode, the low pass 1 and 2, the band pass 1 and 2, and the high pass, and also the envelope inversion. ELKA-X and also the original ELKA SYNTHEX have an incredible feature, is that there are 2 simultaneous patches. You can see that I can have a single sound, a double sound, and a splitted sound. So I can split my keyboard in 2 parts. I can choose from lower and upper part. I reset the focus so you can see the entire instrument. When I switch from lower to upper, you can see that the parameters are different. The colors are red for upper and green for lower. So, for example, in this case, I see the green light, so I know that I work in the lower part. This is one of the most important features, I think, in ELKA-X, but I return after to this explanation, because I want to show you also the filter envelope, the attack, decay, sustain, release, velocity defines how much the envelope affects the filter cutoff frequency with keyboard velocity. So is a very modern feature to create a modern sound. The Amplifier Envelope have also the attack, decay, sustain, release, and also the velocity control. There is an arpeggio section, and as you can see, also the arpeggio is independent from patch 1 and patch 2, because if I go to the upper and I choose, for example, down, I can create a multi arpeggio different from patch 1 and patch 2. And also the range. A little tip, I have assigned the lower and upper to my control keyboard because it's easy to switch. I press Midi Learn, and as you can see, I have assigned 2 different parameters, so with my keyboard I can switch from the 2 patch, so it's very useful. In the master section you have the layer solo, so I can hear only the layer that is used in this moment. The utility button is very useful, for example, to copy the patch or effect, import and export, copy upper layer to memory or copy lower layer to memory. In the master section I have the layer volume and the layer pan. This is another important feature because I can, for example, pan 100% to the right, the upper, and 100% to the left, the lower. Use the headphones to hear the result because it's very interesting. The master tune, the master volume, and a limiter, but the tip is that you have this meter, so when you see the red light here, is useful to decrease the master volume. The keyboard section, the upper frame is global, so single, double, and split. When I press split, I can choose the split point on my keyboard, for example C4. So as you can hear, the sound change when I play the note, for example B3, G3, A3, B3. I return to the double. The bottom frame is single, works independently for the 2 patch. Poly, polymode, mono, single, one note can be played at a time with a single voice sounding. So as you can see, as you can hear, poly, I can play in chords. Single, And the unison mode, you can use the mono unison mode in conjunction with the unidetune knob that wow. And this is one only patch because it's a layer solo, but if I return Chord Memory, you can memorize and play a single key with a chord. Okay, to show you the Chord Memory, I have changed the sound. I press the Chord Memory, the light flash. Now I play a chord. And now with only one key, I can play a melody with my chord memory. Multitrigger works only in mono modes and defines the triggering behavior for the VCF envelope and the VCA envelope generator. And the oscillator to sync, this causes the oscillator to force reset the start of oscillator 1. The low frequency oscillator LFO, and I go to the first frame. As you can see, I have the frequency, the sync button that is synced in your DAW, the delay of the LFO, and these two important knobs, depth A and depth B. Depth A set the amount of modulation sent to oscillator 1 and oscillator 2 pitches. Instead, the depth B knob set the amount of modulation sent to the filter cutoff frequency, so are different. In this case, the depth B send the signal to the filter, and the depth A to the pitch. You can choose from a different waveform. The reset function is useful when you play rhythmic parts in conjunction with the sync button. You can assign the routing for to the oscillator 1, 2, to the PW1, PW2, to the filter, to the amplifier, and to the sequencer rate. So you have many different possibilities, and I show you are different for the upper and the lower part. The glide and the portamento, okay. You can assign the glide and the portamento to the oscillator 1 and the oscillator 2. The glide changes the pitch envelope. and the Portamento enables the Portamento function. So I can choose from glide or to Portamento for the two patches I have shown you now only with the single sound. The effect section. Effects are independently, as you can see, red and green. I choose chorus 1 and I choose chorus 2 or 3 or off. The echo effect for this sound, for this effect I show you another sound, for example a plucks. Yes. Standard. Tape is a vintage tape echo effect. You can use also for lo-fi music. And a ping-pong delay. Use the headphones. The sync button with the do tempo, the feedback, the spread, and the low pass and high pass filter and the effect level. Now I have created a sound with two independent effects, and the same thing is for the reverb. An low pass and high pass filter, EQ, the decay, and the effect level. All and Galactic. Galactic is an original Cherry Audio algorithm from Dream Synth instrument. That is another beautiful synthesizer from Cherry Audio, and I will prepare a video in the next future about Dream Synth. Another feature that I want to show you is the step sequencer. I can record edit, and I can play the single note, and I see the step here and the note. So now when I play, the sequencer start. I can assign the sequencer only to the upper or the lower section. The rate, the sync button with your DAW, and the gate, that is the length of the notes. I have 4 different sequences. So, for example, if I want to edit sequence number 2, I play. I can also insert a step, delete a step, add a step, rest, no note sound, sequence 3, rest, 3, rest. The utility button is very useful because I can, for each sequence, I can transpose, I can copy the sequence to another sequence, I can move the sequence, and obviously I can clear the sequence, and obviously I can clear all the sequence, and also I can import and export copy sequence to the memory. The control section, you have the play and stop button. The key button enable the sequencer playback only when a key on the keyboard is played. So now I press the key and the sequencer starts. The transpose button is useful to transpose the sequence. I show you. And obviously the loop button. The LFO2 can be synced, can be used with the mode well, for example. You can also set manually the minimum level. You can also set the minimum level, and in this case you don't need to use the mode wheel. The initial frequency and the frequency acceleration. Two oscillator, LFO2 2 oscillator. And band, set the max pitch band depth, equally applied to both oscillators. LF2 to filter, set the max modulation applied to the cutoff frequency, and band, set the max cutoff frequency modulation applied via the pitch band well. You can assign LFO2 to the both sound, or only to upper or only to lower. I hope that I have explained all the part of the ELKA-X. ELKA-X is fantastic, as you can see. I remember you that I have prepared 3 different videos, so you can also see the no talking playing and also the official demo track Ouverture. So thank you, subscribe to the channel please, and at the next video.